You're listening to Heart with Saima, the podcast show for people searching for that courageous person within us who wants to be inspired by listening to stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. I'm Saima Dillon, your host. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be here. Let's dive right in. My guest today is Andrea Kohalmi Summers. She brings heart and soul to people and companies through purposeful development. Some call her a light for light workers. Her goal is to help people be their best, however they define it, as they fulfill their purpose. She wants to bring in humanity into the workforce, into the corporate environment. And without waiting anymore, let me bring Andrea on here. Hey, Andrea, welcome to Heart with Saima. It's my honor to have you here as my guest. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Thank you so much, Saima, for inviting me onto your show. I thoroughly appreciate it, wholeheartedly appreciate it. I am doing well. It has been a very busy first quarter. So I'm very present in this moment and ready to dive in with you.
Awesome. I'm ready for us to talk about corporate culture and the corporate environment and what most people feel, that vibe and that energy that people feel in that corporate environment. And your focus is humanity, bringing humanity into the workforce environment. So I'm going to give you the screen and I will let you do an introduction and tell us about yourself. Here you go.
Thank you so much. A little bit about me. My background is in marketing and advertising and corporate communications. And through my experiences, I've worked with leadership for over a couple decades at this point. And the one consistent thing that kept coming up throughout all of my jobs and every experience I had is that most companies have a culture of fear. And a culture of fear, it's not like a company sets out to create it. It's created through a series of moments and experiences that most of the time are unintentional. But how a person, how an employee receives or perceives an experience is based off of what they brought into that role in the first place. And then on top of that, what is reinforced in terms of the leadership team. And all of that comes forth and creates a culture. And sometimes it's positive, sometimes it's negative. So in that state of fear, people are paralyzed and they are not able to fully be empowered. They cannot empower themselves, nor are they empowered to do so by their leadership team. And it creates a cycle where people are then not productive. They aren't happy. Usually they can't articulate why they're in that state of being either. And they usually feel powerless. And it's, as we like to say, that results in the, Monday blahs where people are like, oh, I have to go to work again. That's definitely a part of it. But then the culture of fear, it's paralyzing for people. And when you're living in paralysis, you also cannot be innovative. And most companies thrive off of their people and the innovation and the thought leadership that they bring into it. So when everyone works together in a more humane way, and what I mean by that is remembering that humanity is not just a collective. Humanity is within all of us. And when we appreciate each other and all of our differences, we can actually come together, unite within a company itself or your community, your family even, and bring forth a more positive experience for everybody. And that's a happier way to be, a happier way to work. And isn't that what we're striving for? Happiness, joy?
Absolutely. But why do you feel it takes people so long to realize that at the end of the day, the sole purpose of our life is happiness?
Why does it take so long? I love that you asked that. I think we are programmed at a young age, and it might seem like a very harsh word to use, but when you think about it, once we leave our home, and some of us go to preschool, or if we were lucky enough, you wait until you start kindergarten before you go to school. But once you're out in the world with others, at whatever age that happened, we are taught to be a certain way. Stay quiet, or you're labeled a troublemaker, or you're the class clown, or you're the one who doesn't stop talking.
Or you're the one who asks too many questions. That's me.
And to fast forward, for the one who asks too many questions, where does that lead in life? If you, once you get to the point where you embrace it, it's actually a superhero's strength. And it can get you and catapult you into where you want to be and to accomplish the things you want in life. But as long as we live by the labels that we're given, and we continue that cycle, it takes a very long time to embrace ourselves, because then we learn that we have to be a certain way and act a certain way and speak a certain way so that we're accepted by those who are around us. And we take that from school into the workplace, and then it just continues there until one day you ask the questions, why am I here? Why am I doing this? Do I need to be this way? And then you can break that cycle.
Yeah, we're conditioned from from the time we are born. Expectations coming in from your home environment, your religion, your culture, your surrounding, your relatives, your whatever is around you has an impact on who you end up becoming, and it molds you into that person until I always like to say this, that one day it hits you and you don't recognize the person that you see in the mirror, and you're like, oh, I just can't relate to this person I'm seeing, and what happened, right? And that's right there, it's what, midlife crisis.
It is. I love how you said that, because it speaks to my journey of how I got to where I am. Because when I'm first generation American, and my parents had a very strict way of raising me and my siblings, and they had very set expectations for each one of us. And we knew that from the moment that we could understand the concepts. We had to go through college. There was no other option. We had to go through college. And then after college, we had to get a job, you get married, you have children, and you work until the day you die.
It's
And
that process, right?
exactly.
And I'm originally from Pakistan, and I know that right there, it's especially for women. I mean, that right there is your perhaps even for men, that's your goal in life. For men, of course, first is like they have to be career oriented, but then, okay, like just like you said, education, career, marriage, kids, and then but somewhere in there, I mean, there's no space for self. You lose yourself somewhere in that process.
Completely. And when I was a teenager, I had this moment where I just wanted to give up on life. I couldn't take the pressure anymore, because it wasn't just schoolwork. I had to have straight A's.
Yeah.
And then I also had extracurricular activities. And then I had a job and it was a lot of pressure on me. And granted, at that time, I didn't know how to speak to my parents to articulate what I was exactly feeling, other than I just shut down. I'm like, push. I'm done.
Because you didn't realize what was wrong.
Exactly. I didn't know there was another way of being, because that was all
that you mattered. Your opinion, your voice, it matters. And one thing, Andrea, that I've seen that, especially traveling through Europe and some other countries, the way Europeans look towards American, and it's that they're like, you know what? I mean, Americans just live to work, because you're working, 50, 60, 70, 80 hours. And carrying work into your home, carrying work. I mean, that's just expected.
Mhm.
It's something like, okay, and that shouldn't be the norm, because when you go to like Europe, you actually see that there's a life does not start until a certain time, and by the time it starts, it's already like noon, so this it's siesta time, and then it opens. but but people just seem so much happier.
Yes. Yes, I'm so happy that you said that. I've been very fortunate to have worked for global companies. So I've traveled for business internationally and worked even beyond the places that I visited. But I have dear friends and family who live in Europe, all across Europe. And the one thing that struck me was they work extremely hard, but
Yeah.
working extremely hard is not equated to 80 hours a week. They are dedicated and focused when they are in the office or working remotely, whatever it is. But then they enjoy their mornings. They have a coffee or tea later in the afternoon. And then when it's dinner time here in America, they still keep going. Um, but they have their end time, which when I worked with them, it was like 7 p.m. And then they would go out with their family or their friends and they would have a family dinner around a table. Or even if they went to a restaurant, it was dialogue with everybody and not talking about work. It was, how are you? What happened? Like, what's going on? What's important to you? It was meaningful conversations where the individual was valued. And more importantly, it created a sense of community. And people in America, I mean, my family's a great example, and I love my family. And my parents, they gave us everything when we were growing up. So I have to recognize that too. Just because of my experience, it wasn't because they did something wrong. They worked extra hard for it. But my family right now is split between Pennsylvania, Florida, and Texas, where in Europe, my families grew up together.
Yeah.
Great grandparents, grandparents, everybody was together, if not next door, then in the same village. So that is missing here. And we've invested that extra time instead of family. Most of us are just taught, we're programmed into, we just work, work, work. What else would we do, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that it's just and unfortunately that is the corporate environment over here. And I was working for a company, um, and it's been many years, because I've been a realtor for 16 years, so that was long time ago. But even though in real estate, I have gone through my highs and lows, and the recession and this and that, but as an entrepreneur, the stress level is much higher, but the freedom that it does give you, it is just so difficult to go back into the corporate environment and work in. I mean, you might like be starving here, or face just extreme hardships where there's like, but even at that point, it's just so difficult to go back to work for someone.
Spot on. Yes, especially when you're an entrepreneur because there's freedom.
Yeah.
Create your schedule. If I want to work I have my own company, Soulfire Spirit. If I want to work 7 days a week, I can. If I don't want to work 7 days a week and I want to work 2.5 days a week just regarding that company, then I can. And what I've ended up creating now is an opportunity where I don't play in one sandbox. And it's not just my company, which is a breath of fresh air because the values are aligned with me because it's mine.
Yeah.
And every human that I come into contact with, they're treated with respect and humanity so that they feel honored, even if we disagree. Disagreements are fine. We don't have to be identical to each other. Actually, that creates a very rich world around us when we're all diverse.
Yeah.
And these other businesses that I'm still involved in are of my choosing instead of necessity dictating it. And I think part of what you were saying there too is like when you know what that is like, the corporate environment, and then you become an entrepreneur. Yeah, there are good days and there are bad days. But I've also experienced really, really bad days. There were times when I was living off of food stamps with my children,
Yeah.
and we didn't know where or how we were going to pay for rent or how we were going to pay for food. So today, everything's a blessing. Every moment is a blessing. We don't take anything for granted. And it helps us live in the moment instead of living in fear for tomorrow, of what tomorrow might bring.
So, what is your company all about, Andrea, and what made you create that company?
Thank you for asking. So, my company is focused on purposeful development. It's really bringing heart and soul back to people. And what do I mean by that? Because everyone has heart and soul, right? But we've forgotten along the way, based what we were saying earlier in the program around labels and living in fear that's reinforced by either the people around us or our companies or teachers, wherever we are. We lose our way. And our souls are at a dissonance then, where we might have our day job and we present ourselves one way at our day job, but inside we're dying because we don't feel honored, we don't feel valued, and we don't, other than needing a paycheck, we don't really know why we're there necessarily. And that dissonance is where people are like, what's my purpose? Why am I here? How do I find my way forward? And that's where I step in. And someone recently called me a soul Sherpa, which I'm like, I'll accept that. I'm here as a guide for a part of the journey.
Yeah.
And if I can help teach people certain tools that can help them move forward, well, then I've accomplished my purpose along the way and hopefully help them reconnect with their own humanity, and that can flow not just into their personal life, but into work. So my company is one-on-one coaching, and then also in the corporate realm too, working with leadership and helping them identify certain key components that help them bring humanity, heart, and soul into their companies as well, so that everyone feels valued within their company.
So, what made you go that route? Something happened in your life, or what made you feel that what there's a humanity is missing in workplace? And I think it's safe for me to say that it's also linked to diversity.
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. And diversity, as we define it in America, is very different than in other countries. But in every country, there's some sort of oppression where people cannot bring their full self to work. But what prompted me to go this route and start Soulfire Spirit, 2020 it started out fine until this time last year. And COVID was introduced into all of our lives. And business as we knew it began to dismantle itself. There was a deconstruction of systems as a whole. There needed to be a new way of being within companies. Not every industry was impacted, but many were.
Yeah.
And I would say 99% of the people in my life were impacted by it. And as we work through our own individual fears and then corporate fears, because regardless of where any corporate culture was before 2020, 2020 and the situation with COVID impacted everybody in a different way.
Yeah.
And it forced me to think about, well, where am I? I love the company that I was working with and the people that I was working with. And at the same time, there was this other part of me that saw a need for bringing humanity back to people. And this is also a separate piece of my skills. There's skills that you can't learn in school. But they're just gifts that I have. And one of them is being an empath, which means I can feel other people's emotions. So when I go into a company and I say there's a culture of fear, it's because I can also feel it, not because people are using that terminology or the wording around it. And over the years, I've spent over a decade also as an energy healer. And I was like, how can I bring all of these pieces together so that I can help people? And this isn't something that exists out there currently, especially in corporations or in companies or working with leaders to talk about your soul's purpose while you're actually working as well. So I started to connect the dots, and I united my self wholly, not just why I went to school and all my corporate experience that I've had over the years, but then also what I'm passionate about, which is helping people, but through the gifts that I have that are very unique, that are different in this world, but can help bring some healing to
And
people.
what are those gifts?
So I'm an intuitive, which means intuition. But my intuition can also pick up on other people and what they need in their lives or what might be lacking. And an empath, as I mentioned. I'm also clairvoyant. And as an energy healer, I can also see energy. And when I'm working with someone in a session, I can feel the energy. If it's with a group of people, I could feel the energy that's in a room. If it's a one-on-one coaching session, as someone is speaking, I can see the energy that's in their bodies. I can see the chakras that might be unhealthy or out of alignment. And then I help people through visualization, meditation, and energy work. And the helping piece of it is that I teach them what I'm doing so that they can do this on their own. They don't need to depend on me solely for healing of any kind.
So I love this, and that's why I'm interrupting you right
Go
here.
ahead.
Because this is exactly why I asked you to come on the show as a guest, because you're an energy healer. So you said that so okay, let's do this live on air as we are here. So give me some feedback. Let me be your protege or your student, or so. Tell me, what do you feel? What do you see? I want to learn about this. I want to know how do people go about fixing your energy. And just a little bit about me, Andrea. I mean, my decade had a lot of turbulence. There were different things I have experienced, different challenges that I went through and experienced in this decade. And, some personal stuff, some stuff related to my family, and, some business hits, I felt that I was in the eye of the storm. And I felt that because my energy was maybe dejected, or it was at that point where I was just continuously attracting, it was like you name it and it would go wrong. The kind of clients I was attracting in my business were difficult clients. So everything was just, and I think it's all connected to my energy. And I started on this journey where I was like, okay, you know what? And I have to fix my energy so that I can change what my energy is attracting. So, having shared what I shared based on your experience and your knowledge, and which none of it is what I have, I'm just speaking based on personal experience. Um, Tell me whatever you need to tell me.
I love the direction that this just went. So thank
I
you.
love it too.
This is my passion. What you just described around it's an energy exchange. And when we are, I'll just say broken, none of us are truly broken, but when we feel broken, or we're dealing with certain challenges and our mind and our heart and all of our energy is going, it's pouring into fixing whatever that is, or healing ourselves after dealing with something that's traumatic or just very painful. What's in our energy space, there's negative energy within there. And then what you just said about what you were attracting, it's because it's matching the energy. It's the frequency of energy that is in and around you at that moment. I went through the exact same thing for many, many, many years.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand why I felt the universe was blocking me. It wasn't me, right? I had to learn along the way. Oh, it was me all along, blocking certain things from happening. It's looking at both sides of ourselves. So there's the side that is it's vitality, and we're filled with life. It's the joy that we have within life. And if we have children, it's our children, it's our accomplishments, if we're career oriented, whatever it is. But then there's the darker side, and it's the side that struggles with certain things. It's the side that holds on to pain, frustration, anger, hurt, dejection, disappointment. It manifests in anger. It usually all stems from fear. That's in the bottom of all of it. But all of that makes us who we are and comes together. But when they're out of balance with each other and we put too much into the negative side where it's been triggered by something, and we are in a state of then processing and analyzing.
Double-edged sword, because you want to get out of it, but you are there and you keep on attracting that negative energy, and you just don't know how to get out of it, because whenever you're just trying to you're drowning and you're trying to pull yourself out of that storm, but you can't, because you're being hit. I mean, there's so many times, Andrea, that I have literally visualized that, okay, I'm sitting here and there's a hailstorm happening, and I'm just sitting there and I have my head covered because I'm just trying for it not to just drown me completely.
Yes. I felt that too. And like a tsunami where the first wave,
yes,
and then you're like, there's another one coming. And then is it going to suck me out?
Yeah.
And there were times when it did. And it did. And it's to describe in a few minutes that we have together to describe what it takes doesn't honor the space and the time that it took to process everything that you went through to get to today, or for me, even the years that it took to heal through it. But what do we do in those moments? It's acknowledging that it exists, because when you just you want to hide from the hailstorm. You don't want to get hit by another piece of hail and it's breaking you. It's, cutting your skin and it just hurts. If we look at it from a different perspective and ask why, going back to what you said at the beginning, you love asking questions. When we ask, why is this happening? What was my role in it? How can I change it? I accept where I am right now. I don't want to stay in this place. So how will I move forward? And I think the biggest component, because that's the analytical part, we do have to take a look at ourselves. There's energy attached to all of that. We must process that, not hide it and not push it away. Energy healing, and part of it isn't to just remove it from someone's space. It's actually to also realize why it's there in the first place and talk through it and work through all of it. And it bubbles up all kinds of feelings to the surface. But that's the only way that you can finally release it. But then the next piece of all of this is learning to love yourself and appreciating who you are and understanding and embracing the good, bad, and ugly that's happened in your life, because it made you into the person you are today. That doesn't mean you need to be that same person tomorrow. We are not stuck in those labels.
See, Andrea, for myself, and I know, for myself, I am an optimist, and I'm coming from a place where I was given unconditional love by my parents, and I think that is exactly, I'm a byproduct of that unconditional love. And I think that unconditional love is what makes me very fluid when it comes to my mistakes in life. I do a lot of self-reflection. I know where I screwed up, where I have made mistakes, and I will continue making them. I'm not going to sit there drowning in guilt. I don't. I accept that I blundered. I will try to fix myself and rectify the mistakes. But how do you change the energy into into the direction that you want to head in life? I mean, one of my favorite books is The Alchemist, where it talks about, like the different experiences and the different challenges. They are coming your way because they are helping you grow and become the person that you're going to end up becoming. But as you go along in that journey, the challenges, they just like, for different people, different challenges, right? So, um, how do you bring energy? How do you change your or fix your energy?
I'm glad you asked that. And I'm pausing because I'm like, for you, it would look different from other people.
Yeah.
Most people are stuck in a state of trauma and they think that energy healing will just fix certain things. But in the situation that you just described, where you can get to that place and beyond that place, the next step beyond that is to ground your energy, which means your own energy, and work through grounding it and then connecting yourself into source. I know that might sound crazy to a lot of people. Another way to look at it is prayer. When you are consciously connected into a space that is peaceful, everything starts to clear out. So the clutter that's still around you starts to go away. That grounding energy, the way I do it with my clients, we do breathing exercises. And it just starts very simply. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. It gets you to focus. And all of your energy is focused on being within yourself. The next step is to allow the energy flow to come in. And you think, the way I help people, and it's an easy visualization to do, is breathe in sunshine. Everyone loves sunshine. I don't know one person yet who doesn't like sunshine, the warmth of that feeling on your body, on your skin. Breathe in sunshine. What would that feel like on the inside of you? And then as you're exhaling, you're letting go of any of the negative energy that's still within your space. And you do that cycle. Inhale, exhale. And then you're consciously inhaling something that makes you feel good. And you're releasing the things that you don't need, that have been holding you back, whether you're aware of it or not. Sometimes it's unconscious things that have just been within our space. But when you're consciously saying, I'm letting go of everything that I don't need, and you let it out, you let it through you into ground. It's a basic step to cycle your own energy. And for people who are just getting started and they're like, I don't know what to do, and this seems odd, it's a cycle of breathing. And then your question about, well, then how do you clear your space to welcome in the things that you need? It starts with letting go of what you don't need, because then when you're breathing in sunshine, positive energy, and you've let go of everything, another way to look at it is Mother Nature and Earth. And if your feet are grounded in nature and you're exhaling into Earth, Earth also heals. It feeds. The trees, the plants, the flowers all around us are part of Earth and nature, and so are we as human beings. And you're inhaling and exhaling within the oneness all around us. Everything has energy. Every person has energy. Every plant has energy. Everything around us is filled with energy. So we call into us positive energy, and the flow and cycle is all positive energy at that point. And it's aligned with where your mindset is. So if your mindset is in a positive place, that's what will be coming in and out. And I have to say also, we have to let go of ego. Ego and the ego space is based on just me, and what I want. And when you let go of that and you're focused on, okay, I'm in a positive space, I would like to manifest XYZ. And that's what I'm welcoming into my space. And you're not defining how it looks, by the way, because abundance or good health can look different ways for different people. A new job, it's more that you ask for it and you cycle the energy. There was one other thing that I was going to say, but I feel like you have a question for me.
No, I'm just listening very intently, because literally the first half, corporate and all that, this is what I wanted you on my show for, and I am just so interested that I'm just like sitting here like a like an excited person, just learning and absorbing everything that you're sending my way.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. The other component to this, so mindset is one piece, and positive frame of mind, and an openness and a willingness to receive. Because when we say, I want a new job, but it needs to be a vice president title. It needs to come with a $500,000 salary. You're blocking the energy flow. So it should be, I want a new opportunity. And I want that new opportunity to sustain me moving forward. And I want to be happy in it. And I'd like to work with amazing people who value me in it. That energy that you're putting out there, then you're going to be attracting the things that will match that energy. And then another way to look at this too is not just mindset. Our heart and heart chakra is very, very powerful when it comes to creation and manifestation. And when you're focused in a place and space that is of love, not just for yourself, which means taking care of yourself in every way possible. You take care of yourself fully and wholly and accept your entire being, but then also operating for the world around you from the heart. It means that we stop just thinking logically, because that's where we have limitations. But when we interact with others from our heart space, that's where humanity lies. That's where appreciating others lies. That's where seeing someone lies. So what do I mean by seeing? That the way we perceive the people around us, there might be someone who's very aggressive, someone we don't like to work with because they are angry all the time. Has anyone stopped to ask them, are they okay? That comes from the heart, and it takes the heart to get to that point, because the head just wants to get through the meeting as fast as possible and not deal with conflict. So working from the heart, talking from the heart, breathing from your heart. Actually, you could do that as part of a meditation, or inhale, exhale, but from your heart. It's a consciousness that we're bringing into our own beings that doesn't just help us heal, it shifts our energy to the positive, first off. So that energy flow that we were talking about comes from a place of love and kindness then. And then the people who are attracted into our space will match that frequency of energy. And when you're surrounded by people who are kind and filled with love, you work together, whether it's in your community, in your family, friends, or at work, it shifts the dynamic. And the frequency of everybody around you is one that is happy and positive and caring. Caring. It's so important to have that for all of us, because it's only then that we can achieve joy and happiness. It has to be in every facet of our life, not just in a moment of celebration, because then it's empty and it's momentary, it's fleeting. It's sustainable when we are operating from a place of love.
And see, you radiate that. You have this glow and this flow, and you radiate that positive energy so beautifully. And I have to tell you that going through everything and then spending the past few years where I started just working on, just detaching myself from the things which were wrong, and just focusing on myself and just focusing on building myself. And whether it's my podcast, which is literally there, bringing in people, then and you're hoping that someone might listen to this, and maybe it will impact someone's life, it might change someone's life. Like last night, I do have a women empowerment group on Facebook, and I've like over 2,600 women. I like to believe that it's a space safe, because I myself am a very strong woman. I feel that it's a safe space for women to be able to come and speak and share their story or ask questions. And I got a message. I woke up in the middle of around midnight, and I saw a message in my messenger from this girl who had messaged me earlier, and who had said that she's going through marital issues, and whatnot is happening in her life, and she just feels completely broken, and she doesn't know who to talk to or what to do. And then we posted her information on the women empowerment group, and where, by the way, we are streaming into that group as well right now. And we shared her journey, and then women started coming forward and giving her advice, for an attorney, for this, for the steps to take, you know and just giving her hope and giving her positivity. And I just feel that, just these things, they are changing my life. They are helping me get rid of my own ego, and they are helping me just become a better person, just from from the place of the heart, and just putting it all out there. And I myself see how my own energy, I see my energy changing. And I think you might be able to kind of relate that or understand it. It's just from such a place of pure giving, that you feel this really strong energy just radiating from inside you, which is extremely powerful. And it's just, it just has this brilliant energy behind it.
You took the words out of my mouth, because I was going to say your energy is always radiating,
Thank
and it radiates light and love and kindness. So how that affects others, you're right. Like, just giving, I don't think of it as giving. I am just in a state of being. And people might see that I'm giving. In the past, people would label it as, you're giving too much time. You need to focus here and here and here. And I'm like, all of that doesn't matter. Each one of us, every single human on this planet, can create a ripple of positivity for other people. And when someone's in need, and all of us are in need at one point or many points in our lives,
Yeah.
when we have a community that supports us and doesn't rip us apart even further, it helps us come together and empower each other. What you just said, the story from last night, having many people come together who might be strangers, who might be far, far away, you can still feel loving, caring energy when people come together and support each other. You don't have to be sitting next to each other for that. And for that woman, that's making all the difference in the world. Having gone through a divorce, I know how painful it is. And to have people cut you out of their lives completely without knowing the story, and me also not wanting to share, just there was no support. So what you're creating in that environment for others, whether it's that situation or any other, creating love is boundless and endless. All of us are capable of doing it without any strings attached. And it's within that space that we create the energy flow that's positive, coming and going. And instead of trying to manifest, because our manifestations always end up being limited, honestly, when we're just freely giving, it comes back.
Yes. It's
It
the
always comes
law
back.
of reciprocity, law of attraction. Especially on social media, especially on, Facebook, you just see, people posting how their hearts are broken, and this and that, friends deceiving them, be mindful of people, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, let it all go, but forgive, even if you don't want to forget, archive it. Just focus on yourself, and focus on what you yourself can put out there, because what you put out there is what is going to come back to you.
Exactly. I'm so happy that you said that. There's an example from, I had a conversation a couple weeks ago with someone, and this person understands energy flow, understands how it works, but said to me that if someone wronged them, that they would stop at nothing for vengeance. I was like, it's an interesting perspective
Yeah,
that,
an eye for an eye.
yes, yes. And I'm like, why would you waste any energy in that? It's a lesson. Let it go. Otherwise, we get pulled down into that vibration and frequency of being and living. And then simple law of attraction. What are we going to bring into our lives? It's more of that. I don't want that in my life. Why would anybody want more toxicity
Yeah.
in space? So we learn from all of our experiences, good and bad alike, especially the painful ones. But let's learn from it, let it go, and grow from it. It doesn't mean that you have to forget it, because it's those memories where we continue. They plant the seeds. Those memories plant the seeds for a beautiful garden of positivity to grow from, instead of allowing ourselves to shrivel up within it. Let it go and move forward so that you can help others learn from what you went through, and then be present for others. It's because of my pain and what I've gone through for many years that I can be present for others today and help them. Had I not experienced it and had I not let it go, I would still be living in my own cycle of trauma.
And I think that right there is like the key. You have to let go so that you can create that space for something good to flow in. Because what you let out, I mean, it's actually you don't. I always say you don't forgive someone because someone deserves forgiveness. You forgive someone because you need to let go of that negative energy and create space for goodness to flow in through.
Completely. Forgiveness, the concept even of it, is coming from a space of ego. So it's this, do we need to hold on to it? Is it for us, or is it for the other person? Or can we move forward? And I don't mean you don't have conversations and you pretend it doesn't exist. You have to address whatever the situation was and come to a place where you can let it go. But then beyond that, do you want to carry that baggage with you every day? If you think about what we learned throughout our whole lives, what are we still carrying? What trauma is still with us? Each one is a suitcase or a purse. And by the time you're middle-aged, how many things are we carrying, and
So
how
much baggage.
Exactly. I do. So when I'm doing energy grounding and letting go for some people and helping them let go of that energy, the answer is always the same at the end when I ask them how they're feeling. I feel lighter.
Yes.
There's something to be said for the energy we carry.
Yes. And that is after going through everything that I've gone through and the space that where I am right now, it is having let go of just everything. And I just feel like I'm building, and it's that very crucial phase of building something where it's just so much that is just going out and you're still waiting for things to turn around and come back. But there's just this feeling of like you're floating, and there's just this feeling of just lightness. And it's just such a it's a wonderful place to be in.
What you just described is your soul is completely aligned with its purpose and how you're manifesting and creating what you're here to do. You're in that process, and that energy flow is just flowing so freely that you're no longer trying to control all the outcomes. You're okay waiting, because you know that what you're creating is so profound. It will touch others, or it will help others in its own way. And when you reach that point, you just trust. So for me, I'm in the same place, and with my company or just living day to day, certainly now, I no longer fear what tomorrow brings.
Yeah.
I live in this moment. I understand that everything is happening for a reason, because now 2021 has shown me more than any year before then that when I'm living in a state of being where it's just positive flow in and out, and if I can cycle my own energy, I have to do this myself and ground constantly. It just helps me stay present. And when I'm in that state of being, you showed up. Like, other people have showed up in my life, and it's amazing that we're here today. Had I not taken that step,
Yeah.
and to take that step forward where it might have been scary to do something on my own and that is unconventional, but it led me to where I am today, right here in this moment, speaking to you, heart to heart, which is a concept that is very near and dear to me, about bringing heart to humanity, bringing love into this world. We're in a state of ebb and flow, and this to me is bliss.
It literally is, because I my focus is always on building. By nature, I'm a nurturer. I'm a problem solver. You know, and but it's just, it's, there's this flow going on, and it's a flow where there are no expectations, there's no focus on the future, there's no focus on hoarding or accumulating. It's all about what can I put out there, whose life can I touch in whatever small capacity, whatever I am able to do, whoever's life I'm able to touch, with that inner strength that I've been gifted with. Thanks to my parents. It's just that feeling of, it's just a feeling of gratitude to be able to just touch lives.
And you're doing that every day within your company, but then also being able to broadcast this so people anywhere in the world can have access to it. And what I'm noticing is that where before, when we were working in our boxes in traditional business, we had a limited reach. And now all of a sudden, I'm speaking with people globally.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I'm like teleporting daily. Like
Yeah.
last week I was in Switzerland and Greece. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So every day brings something new, something marvelous, if we are aware or open
Yes.
to seeing it and welcoming it. And one add-on about what you said with your family. So many people don't experience love, unconditional love. And for those of us who were fortunate to have family that supported them,
Yeah.
even if they kept us in labels and boxes and whatever, parents do that. I did that to my children too. I'm sure I'm going to be paying for therapy later on. But still, they have unconditional love. It doesn't matter. It's not based on, well, if you do this, then. When we bring that to the world around us and to communities and just accept the people around us for who they are, wherever they are in their own journey, we're spreading that loving energy with them. And it is what you just said too about gratitude. It's for that opportunity that I'm so grateful that I can just love the world around me.
And it's just I feel that, you don't focus on the negatives of the world. You just keep focusing on whatever good it is you can put out there, because at the end of the day, it is the goodness of the good people who are just silent propellants of goodness, who just keep taking one step forward, and they keep moving forward and keep doing whatever it is that they believe in doing, and they're the ones who just keep this world, moving forward, going around. And I think that that's about it. You just cannot focus on the negative aspects, because it is bound to take you down and crash you, and then just render you useless.
Completely. When you're caught up in any negativity,
Yeah.
that's exactly what happens. It's creating a prison for ourselves mentally in our hearts. It's very difficult for any human to survive, let alone thrive, in a state of negativity. And if we look at the world around us and only look at the negative news, negative situations that are happening, or conflict, and think that the entire world is made up of that, it's a very depressing place to be. So if we come together and we support each other and we do focus on, well, what can I do today? How can I pay it forward and be kind to somebody? Maybe it's paying for the person behind you in the drive-through, like pay for their meal.
Yeah.
Or say something kind to somebody. That means more to people than anyone can really realize. Smile. say hi.
Yeah. It doesn't cost anything. Just smile, just, just spread whatever it is you're able to spread. And so now you also mentioned that you're clairvoyant. So how does that work?
That's a whole other episode. So clairvoyant, some people, to define it very generally, people would say that that's psychic, being psychic. Clairvoyant, to me, I have multiple guides. Some people call them guardian angels. And over the years, I learned to trust them, but they channel through me. So when I'm in a session with somebody, either my guides come through or someone else's guides come through, and they usually help guide whatever is going on in that conversation. My guides speak to me. Occasionally I can hear them, but usually they pop images into my head. And the biggest question I always get asked is, how do you know it's not you? How do you know that you're not just daydreaming or imagining? And it's because I'm focused on a conversation and it's a random image that I'm shown that has nothing to do with anything else that is happening in the conversation. And then I tell the person I'm speaking to, and they validate what I saw. In one conversation that I had with someone, there was a man that came through who looked like Clark Gable and spoke like him, and he was just wealthy and women adored him. And I described this to the person that I was speaking to, and he was like, that was my grandfather. Like, not actually Clark Gable, but it was that personality that he had. It was just charismatic, and and I was able to describe it. So clairvoyance works in a variety of ways, but for me, my guides work with me every day, and I've learned to trust what they show me. And all of it, for me, opened up. My abilities opened up when I let go of ego, and I made a stand to bring forth my purpose, which is to help others. And living in this state of love for self and others, and to be present as much as possible every day, and not get caught up in the toxicity in the world around us, but just to be, and to be in this frequency and vibration, it allows me greater clarity so that I can work with them to help others. So even if others aren't asking me to talk to them and ask questions and whatever else, usually that's where the guidance comes from. I mean, other people would say, if you take biblical terms, it's God or saints or whoever. The point is, there are other people that help me. I'm not taking credit for it.
Well, that's very interesting, and it's been a wonderful conversation. And any words of wisdom, parting words for me, for everyone else watching?
For everyone that's watching, be kind, live in light and love. And I wish all of you blessings.
Because so whatever you give out is what will come back to you.
Yes.
So if you want love, you give love. If you want kindness, you give kindness. Whatever you give will ricochet right back to you.
Yes. It's very simple. If the philosophy is live in love, that's what's coming and going.
Awesome. Well, Andrea, I will let you give a parting message for yourself, where people can find you. And it's been a pleasure, and it was a wonderful conversation. It was lovely having you here with me. So I'll let you give a final where people can find you and your website, anything you want.
Thank you so much, Saima. So everyone, you can find me on LinkedIn. You could type in my name, that's spelled out right there underneath my picture, or soulfirespirit.com. That's my website, where all of these things about energy healing and clairvoyance and being an empath, and I speak a little bit more about there. But you can connect with me through either one. Send me a message. If anything struck you today, or you just have a comment, feel free to reach out to me. And Saima? great gratitude, wholehearted gratitude for having me on your show today. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure having you here, getting to know you. These wonderful, I just feel so honored since the time I've started streaming and meeting with different people from all over the world who connect and who just leave me a much better person, and a more knowledgeable and a more tolerant and a kinder person. So thank you for being here. It was my pleasure.
Thank you.
So that was another hour that I look forward to every week, connecting with people, learning from people. It is such a joy. It's wonderful conversations which just help me, help my soul soar. So, once again, thank you for carving the time out to hear what was shared on today's podcast. If this inspires you to take the next step in your journey, then I would like to invite you to join my email list by emailing vip@saimadillon.com. And of course, if you know this podcast episode will help someone else, then help me change lives. Just take 30 seconds to simply share the link to the podcast in a text or post it on social media, and I will be so grateful. So until next time, thank you for being here today.